Can we talk a little bit about evil?
Sure.
I haven't actually talked to you about this topic, and it's been sitting on my mind mostly because everybody at MIT is quiet about it, which is Jeffrey Epstein. I didn't get a chance to experience what MIT was like at the time when Jeffrey Epstein was part of this, but it's I'd love to try to understand how evil was allowed to flourish in a place that I love. Whether you think, maybe let me ask the question this way. Was it the man evil or was the system evil? Or is evil too strong a word? Because what I see is the presence of this particular human being in the eyes of many destroyed the reputations of many really strong scientists, and also weaken the ability, weaken the institution of MIT by making everybody quiet, like almost making them unable to say anything interesting or difficult.
Yeah.
And what is that? And what am I supposed to
We don't know.
why is everyone quiet about Jeffrey?
We
I want to scream.
No, we don't know. Obviously, I want to scream about it too, right? And I probably have said too much about Jeffrey Epstein. Look, something horrible happened. I don't know what it is, but something horrible happened. And, at the one thing that, okay, let's just do this. The first thing I need to do is I need to get rid of this woke crap about power differentials. Okay. In general, you can talk about hypergamy and power differentials are Russell conjugates of the same concept. Just the way particular proportions and symmetries are mathematically provable to be attractive in females to males, male attractiveness is largely determined by male competence and ability to amass power and success and all these sorts of things. The relationship between consenting adults is, quite frankly, not something I want to sort out. The relationship between the sexuality of adults and minors, and particularly, there's the 17, 18 issue. Mm-hmm. That's very different than 12, 13. We're talking about really sick depravity with respect to what it appears that Jeffrey Epstein was involved in at some level. I believe this story is super complicated, in part because I think one thing Jeffrey Epstein was doing was providing money, encouragement, and support to scientists. Another thing he was doing, I believe, was giving tax advice to very rich people. I believe another thing he was doing was hooking very wealthy people up with young adult females. Another thing he was doing, I think, was doing stuff with children that will curl your toes. So there's an entire spectrum of different stuff. And at the moment, nobody can pull apart or deconflate anything because the woke thing comes over it and says, I think it's disgusting that, a 43-year-old billionaire would be partying with a 23-year-old.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to adjudicate that. I'm worried about 12 and 14-year-olds that we're not talking about.
But I
don't think MIT was deep into pedophilia. My guess is that did not happen. I don't think that the scientists were the targets of the really sick, depraved stuff. It's my guess. My guess is that what you're looking at was a government construct. And it may have been our government. It may have been a joint government project. It may have been somebody else's government. I don't know. I believe that in part, We don't really understand Robert Maxwell.
Sorry, who's Robert Maxwell?
Ghislaine
Father?
Maxwell's father was very active in scientific publishing. I don't know where peer review came from. I would love to run down the relationship between peer review and Robert Maxwell. I would love to run down the missing fortune of Robert Maxwell and the mysterious fortune of Jeffrey Epstein, because I don't think Jeffrey Epstein ever ran a hedge fund. I don't think he was a money advisor the way people claimed.
So there's two things I want to talk about. So one is the shallow conversations of woke identity politics that you're referring to seems to be removing everyone's ability, everyone's willingness
one of the things
to talk about, like, what the hell is this person and how is he allowed? Most importantly, how do we prevent it in the future? And from the individual perspective, the question for me is the same question I ask about 1930s Nazi Germany. I've been reading way too much, probably, or not enough about that period currently. Is if I was in Germany at that time, what is the heroic action to take? When I think about MIT with Jeffrey Epstein, what is the heroic action to take? We're not talking about virtue signaling action.
You wouldn't know what to do.
I
You
would
would
like
not
to
know what you're up against, Lex. You're not hearing me. The problem here is, what was Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, that question might be the heroic action to take.
That's all I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to get my first question. You have to map the silence with Jeffrey Epstein. What you're describing is a map of the silence at MIT.
Yeah.
Well, is there a map of the silence in Washington State around Jeffrey Epstein? The Bay Area, New York City? The amount of silence around Jeffrey Epstein should be telling you everything. The number of dogs that don't bark is like nothing we've ever seen.
You're exactly correct, but I want to know, what is it telling us? Because what it's telling me is not some kind of conspiracy, but more a disappointing weakness.
Not some kind of conspiracy?
Is not some kind of conspiracy,
You got to be kidding. No, you're so afraid of saying the word conspiracy that you don't think it's a conspiracy?
I just think it's people who I thought were my heroes just being weak.
No. Be of good cheer, sir.
A cheer?
Be of good cheer.
Of good cheer?
Yeah.
You think that there's a conspiracy?
I think there is a conspiracy.
That'd be a very impressive one. That's the scale of it. I tend to believe that large scale can only be an emergent phenomena.
Really? I find this so fascinating.
Yeah.
Because I always see you as like a logic and love drive your soul. You're very logical. You're relentless. You got a lot of love in your heart. I believe that if you would review the video, where is it from? Dubai or Abu Dhabi, of the mysterious hit on the hotel guest. You ever seen this thing?
No.
Oh,
what happened?
It's the assassination in 2010, 10 years ago, of Mahmoud al-Mabou, something like that, in Dubai, where I believe 26 separate individuals on multiple teams are shown converging, coming in from all over the world on false passports, pretending to be tennis players or business people or vacationers. And all of these teams have different functions, and they murder this guy in his hotel room. And the Dubai, I guess, chief of police or security officer was so angered that he put together this amazing video that says, we can completely detail what you did. We caught you on closed circuit TV. We don't know exactly who you are because your disguises and your false passports. But yeah, 26 people converged to kill one. No, I don't believe you. I don't believe after COINTELPRO and Operation Paperclip and Operation Mockingbird. I don't know whether I should even bring up Rex 84. To not believe in conspiracies is an idiocy.
So you have a sense that evil can be as competent or more competent.
First of all, when evil wants to operate at scale, it needs to make sure that people don't try to figure out evil. When evil operates at scale,
yes,
from first principles, yes, you have to realize that evil must not want it investigated.
That's correct.
the most efficient way to keep yourself from being investigated, if you are an evil institutional player who needs to do this repeatedly, is to invest in a world in which no one can afford to say the word conspiracy. You will notice that there is a special radioactivity around the word conspiracy.
Yeah.
We have provable conspiracies. We have admitted to conspiracies. You have been invited to conspiracies. There is no shortage. Conspiracies are everywhere. Some of them are mundane. Some of them are like price fixing cartels, or trade groups are generally speaking conspiracies. So the first thing you have to realize is that all of us are in a mimetic complex where you can be taken off the chessboard by saying conspiracy theorist. Get done. It's like a one-line proof. We don't have to listen to Lex. He said he was a conspiracy theorist on this show. Okay. That is partially distorting our conversation. If you want to ask me about Jeffrey Epstein, you have to agree with me that is a logical description of what you would have to have if you wanted to commit conspiracies, is that you have to make sure that people are dissuaded from investigating them.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's a fascinatingly difficult idea then, because the world with conspiracy theories and the world without conspiracy theories, to the shallow glance, looks the same.
Well, my point, there is responsible conspiracy theorizing, where you look at the history of unearthed conspiracies, and just like you would with any other topic, just think about how different the rules in your mind are for conspiracy theorizing versus X theorizing, where X can be anything, right? It's like if I say to you, I can say the statement that average weight is not the same between widely separated populations. You'd say, yeah. I'd say average height is not the same between widely separated populations. You'd say, yeah. Then I say, in fact, no continuous variable that shows variation should be expected to be identical between widely separated. Of course, Eric. Like IQ. Whoa, hold on. Right? So we have a violent reaction to specific topics. So the first thing I want to do is just to notice that conspiracy has that built into everyone's mind.
That's really important to state. Yeah, it's very interesting. And as a prerequisite, as you're saying, that would be the first step if you wanted to pull off a conspiracy in a competent way. You would have to first convince the world of that.
I just watched the film 1971 about my favorite conspiracy of all time. I highly recommend it.
1971?
Well, the film is titled 1971, and it's about the Citizens Committee to investigate the FBI, which was run by a student of Murray Gell-Mann, a physicist, and broke into FBI offices in Pennsylvania to steal files, which allowed Freedom of Information requests that discovered a huge conspiracy. It was a conspiracy that unearthed a conspiracy inside the federal government, a double conspiracy story, which launched multiple conspiracies. I think that the problem with modern Americans is that they are so timid that they don't even learn about the history of conspiracies that we have absolutely proven. So, with that done, Jeff Epstein, in my opinion, represented somebody's construction. I don't
kind
think
of scary to think about.
Yeah. Well, what part of the story isn't scary? I, in part, did something which I imagine may get me destroyed because I was more worried about being destroyed by somebody else I had a conversation with around Jeff Epstein. Right? So I'm just trying to let it be known that I don't know anything more than I've already said. Now, your friends at MIT, their problem is that Jeff Epstein showed up as the only person capable of continuing U.S. scientific tradition. You see, the U.S. scientific tradition is a little bit like the Russian. It's combative. Okay? And we're a free society and we act like a free society. We're a rich society and we research like we're a rich society. That is historically. And then came the 1970s. And William Proxmire and the Golden Fleece Awards and the idea that we're paying too much and these are welfare queens in lab coats and blah, 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 blah. We need more transparency, more oversight. Everything went to hell. And the national culture of US science was lost. The thing that produced all this prosperity and security and power was lost. And then Jeff Epstein shows up. And a tiny number of funders, maybe Fred Kavli, maybe Yuri Milner, maybe who else would be in this category? Peter Thiel to an extent. Howard Hughes would be the largest of these things, which has different grant structures than the NIH, gave people a modicum of risk-taking ability.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, when Jeff Epstein showed up, everybody wanted to take risk in science. And suddenly a charismatic billionaire says, hey, I can make that work for you. Here's $100,000. Go research something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that money was supposed to be provided by the federal government under the terms of the Endless Frontier Compact between the federal government and the universities. And the federal government and the taxpayers welched. Okay?
So that's one place to lay the blame for Jeffrey Epstein, as at the failure of the federal government
to honor its commitment.
Yeah.
Right? So the universities became psychopathic. It's not like everybody doesn't remember what we're supposed to be doing to be moral. But the point was there wasn't enough money to be moral. So it was time to eye each other as a source of protein, as I like to say. And in that process, Jeffrey Epstein said, hey, come to my world. We can do it like we used to do. So in part, my point is that almost none of your colleagues at MIT have that kind of religious commitment to science that they're willing to go down with ship science.
Mm.
The Galileo Galilei thing became very important to science because occasionally you just have to say, look, this isn't about me and you. There isn't enough money in the world to buy the kind of legacy I want to leave to this planet. This is one of the great things about science. Potentially it's worth dying for.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it. Science is one of the things at its best that's worth dying for.
I mean, I'm not eager to martyr myself, but I've certainly risked my health, my fortune. I've destroyed myself economically over science, and my need to oppose these sons of bitches in chaired professorships who are destroying our system along with everyone else.